Side Hustle Show 86, Unlocking LinkedIn, Secrets to Growing Your Email List, Expanding Your Network, and Building Your Business on the most overlooked social network for side hustlers.
Welcome to the Side Hustle Show, where aspiring part-time entrepreneurs learn how to turn their side hustle dreams into reality. Because your 9 to 5 may make you a living, but your 5 to 9 makes you alive. And now, your host, Nick Loper.
Hey everybody, Nick Loper here. Welcome to the Side Hustle Show. This is episode 86, Unlocking LinkedIn, the secrets to growing your email list, expanding your network, and building your business. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Festivus for the rest of us. This is an exciting time of year because it's a chance to look back and reflect on what's worked for us this past year. Ask ourselves if we're better off than we were 12 months ago. And also to look ahead to see, hey, what's next. So I published an annual review on the Side Hustle Nation blog this week. It was the first time that I really done something like that. Kind of looking back at the past year, going month by month to see what I was working on, what I got done. And there were entire months where I couldn't remember doing anything remarkable and had to kind of dig through my calendar to see, what was I doing? What did I do all of this month? And that was a little bit of a wake-up call. So I encourage you either way to check it out. So I'll link to it in the show notes for this episode at sidehustlenation.com/86. And it really invites you to go through the same exercise yourself, to give yourself that personal audit annual review. I think it'll be pretty eye-opening, and if nothing else, will kind of give you some insight and some direction for 2015 and beyond. Also, on that page at sidehustlenation.com/86, you'll find a free downloadable PDF with all my notes and highlights from today's episode, which is a particularly juicy one. You're going to learn from Joshua Jordison, who goes by JJ, how to tap LinkedIn for virtually unlimited leads for your email list and for your business. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably haven't given much thought to your LinkedIn profile and presence in a long time, in a lot of years, and they've made some serious changes, and it's it's just a social network I never really took the time to learn about. But JJ, reached out to me and gave me a kind of a 1-hour makeover of my profile with some quick wins that I think have made it much, much more effective in terms of driving traffic and thinking, hey, what are the goals of this profile? And I should say, despite my lack of effort up to that point, I was reasonably happy with LinkedIn. In my sidebar, in the people also viewed section, I had people like Pat Flynn and Tim Ferriss. And I was feeling pretty good about that. And that was until I saw JJ's profile, and in his sidebar, he had people like Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Barack Obama, taking it to just a whole new level. So we're going to get into all of that, including how he drives people to his email list from LinkedIn and how he's using that to drive his business and all that and more in this episode. Let's get into it. Hey, JJ, welcome to the Side Hustle Show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Nick. I'm super excited.
Yeah, me too, because this, I think, is going to be an eye-opening one. At least it was for me in our earlier conversation. So everybody, JJ is a former side hustler turned full-time entrepreneur centered around technology, entertainment, and impact. He's been involved in producing events ranging in size of attendance from 100 people to over 35,000 people, so kind of a big deal. But earlier this year, he discovered some unique strategies to leverage LinkedIn, maybe the most overlooked social network, and everything kind of took off. Everything changed, and so he's here to share some of those strategies with Side Hustle Nation and talk about why LinkedIn can be maybe that one missing piece, that one action item that you can take to take your business to the next level. So thank you so much for joining me. And let's, start at the top. Why should side hustlers care about LinkedIn? And actually, I had this question a few months ago.
Yeah.
If I'm a side hustler, should I post my side hustle business stuff on LinkedIn? Again, my boss is going to see it. My coworkers are going to see it. What's your take on that stuff?
That's a good question. I think that's really an answer for a case-by-case business. I would tend to go with what Gary Vaynerchuk says about that, which is that if you're at a job that doesn't let you have any kind of personal life or a business on the side, you might want to like really try to get out of that job. I mean, the climate that I'm in, a lot of people I know work at startups or they work at companies in the entertainment industry or technology. And it's sort of expected that people are going to have side businesses, even if they're already making six figures. Living in LA is really expensive. And you'd be surprised how short a salary of like $85,000 for a really good job can fall short if you want to live in a non-dangerous area and, have a significant other and a car and driving and everything. So I think it depends, use your best judgment. But I would say, go for it. And rather than asking for permission, ask for forgiveness if it becomes a problem.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Julian Gordon, puts it this way: like it's really no difference. Running a business in your spare time to your employer should really be no different than you running marathons in your spare time. It's the same time commitment and same energy that you're putting forth. It's just one costs you money if you have to register for races, and one has the potential to make you money. So hopefully your boss is understanding of that. But let's dive into this stuff. Why LinkedIn instead of putting my energy on Facebook where there's more users or Twitter or whatever?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of reasons, but I just want to focus on a few. The first is that LinkedIn is a lot more effective at generating leads for your business than Facebook or Twitter or any other social media platform. And that's just not me anecdotally, sharing my own personal experience, but HubSpot, which you're probably familiar with, probably your listeners are familiar with it. It's one of the most trusted inbound sales marketing platform. They did a study with over 5,000 B2B and B2C businesses, and they found that the average lead on LinkedIn converts almost 3 times as much as a lead on Facebook or Twitter, actually 277% more. So basically, if you're a side hustler and you're doing this after hours or when you're on a lunch break or something at your job, you don't have time to go out there and waste. So if you're on Facebook and Twitter focusing your time there, it's going to take you almost 3 times as long to get the same kind of results that you're going to get on LinkedIn. So I think that's a really big one for sure.
That makes sense to me. Might as well optimize your time. Do you think it's because, at least with Facebook and Twitter, it's almost all mobile? At least for me, it's almost all through the apps. I'm not necessarily in business mode. It's more like consumer mode. I guess that's LinkedIn in general. It's more business oriented or more professional oriented.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my second thing, which was that if you're on LinkedIn, it's understood that you're there to do business. Yes, Facebook has more users, Twitter has more users, but if you want to go on there and you want to try to, sell a product, grow your email list, find an investor, look for a job, build your brand, all that sort of stuff, you kind of have to, sneak it up on people. You can't just go onto Facebook and start spamming people about some product you have that can help them in their business. But on LinkedIn, it's totally acceptable to do that, and it's not considered spam. You're actually going out there and trying to help people. So for me, that takes a lot of the headache out of it. And if you're at all an introvert, it's a huge difference. It's a big weight off your shoulders.
Definitely. So when we talked last month, I had probably not touched my LinkedIn profile in years.
Right.
And so LinkedIn has made a lot of changes, a lot of improvements to the platform, some things I didn't even know about. And so what are the high level, if somebody wants the quick makeover for their profile, what are the things they should focus on?
Great question. So there typically, when I do a one-on-one coaching call with someone for LinkedIn, there are between 9 and 15 things just on their profile that they can fix. Like you said, LinkedIn has changed so much in the past year, even in the past 6 months, and it changes all the time for the better. But I'll just give you my, let's say, top 3 things. And one really starts with a mindset, which is before you spend any time on LinkedIn, you want to think about why you're there in the first place and what one action you want anyone who visits your profile to take. So let's say for example, you've got a blog and a podcast talking about side hustling, and you want to have people sign up for your email list. Well, that would be the thing that you would keep in mind when you're filling out your LinkedIn profile. So starting with your image, your headline, you want to make sure that you're speaking to those people. So rather than just saying that you're the founder of a particular company, like the CEO of Side Hustle Nation or whatever, you want to talk about who you help and what you do, so that when someone visits your profile and they're your target audience, they go, hey, that's me. Cool. I want to read more. And then they scroll down, and you want to make sure that you have a really compelling, conversationally written summary, because that's the longest you're going to have them on your profile typically. And that needs to summarize everything up.
So when when we were going through my profile, I had Chief Side as my headline. I had Chief Side Hustler at Side Hustle Nation. What we changed that to was Chief Side Hustler at sidehustlenation.com. I thought it was still okay to put that job title, but we added the .com so people knew it was a website or a blog. And then we added a line that says helping people build job-free income streams.
Right.
And that was something that I just kind of thought that this line was only for your job title, and didn't really realize you could put whatever you want in there. And so hopefully that adds, it makes that a little bit more compelling. And down in the links, so this is under contact info, you can edit your links.
Right.
And I didn't realize, I thought it was like you could link to Twitter, or you can add as many as you want. Yes?
Yeah, you can add your Twitter, you can add different websites, and you can actually treat it like a customizable hyperlink. So you can put in a link for something, like if you have a digital product that you're selling, you can include a lead magnet, and then you can customize the hyperlink to say something like, get my free guide, top 10 ways to unclog your drain or something, or whatever it is that you do, right? And that way people can go from your profile to your lead magnet, to your email list, and then eventually to becoming a customer, which is really what social media should all be about if you're doing business, is getting them back to your website and to become a customer.
Yeah, you can link directly to your landing page, your squeeze page, your email opt-in page. You can link directly to maybe your most popular post. So right now, my most popular post is the 79 side hustle ideas that you could start today. And so I decided I could link directly to that, because that funnels into a lot of the other content on the site. And it was just, some really cool stuff that I didn't know about. And also when we spoke, I didn't have a summary at all, so I added a summary. And what would be some best practices for writing that summary, especially if you're still employed at your day job?
Right. So the most important thing, in my opinion, with LinkedIn, and also the biggest mistake that people make, is they treat it like a digital resume. So typically they'll just copy and paste something from monster.com or from an actual paper resume, if you still have those, which the paper resume is dead, but that's kind of another conversation. You want it to be conversationally written. And what I mean by that is that when someone reads it, you want them to feel like you're talking directly to them, like you're sitting across the table from them. So what I tell people is, when you're writing your summary, try closing your eyes and picturing yourself literally sitting across the table from someone you've never met before. And they ask you, so, what are you all about? What do you do? And then write that out. If you have trouble visualizing things, some people aren't visual learners, you can record yourself saying your summary and then type it out. And it's always going to come out a lot more conversationally written. And then the final thing, if you don't want to record for whatever reason, maybe you're anti-audio or something, you can just go through your emails and notice the difference of how you write your emails between a business prospect or a boss and one of your friends. And you really want your writing to be closer to how you would email a friend rather than how you would email a professor or a boss or something like that.
And in the summary, you can't include links, or hyperlinks don't work, but you can include some other kind of calls to action.
Yeah, what you can do with a summary, you can include text links. So someone would actually have to highlight it, copy it, and then paste it, which I think is fine. But you can also include an image or a video or a PDF file or something like that. So if you wanted to do something really creative, you could actually sit in front of your computer or a camera and record a message directly to people who are visiting your profile. And then you could upload it right underneath your summary so that you're speaking directly to someone. Or you can just include, like in your case, I would recommend including a snippet from an ebook or something like that, essentially another lead magnet.
I kind of like that video idea. Like, hey, thanks for checking out my LinkedIn profile. Why don't you jump over here to stay in touch with everything I'm working on?
Yeah, you want to really set yourself apart from as many people as you possibly can, but also in a creative, tasteful way, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think they cap it at 500 plus connections? How come they don't show the real number for people over 500?
Well, actually, that's something that has changed, and that kind of gets us into something else I want to talk about. But I don't know why LinkedIn initially chose to do that. Who knows what they were thinking over there? I don't know the CEO of the company or anything, but I think it was just a branding decision for them, probably, ultimately, something to separate themselves from Facebook that caps you at 5,000. What was that private app that capped you at like 50 friends a while back that nobody uses anymore? Anyway, there was one that capped you at 50 friends that was kind of similar to Facebook. But now what LinkedIn does is if you have more than 500 connections, you can actually do something that not a lot of people know about yet to convert those connections essentially to followers. So let's say you have 1,100 connections, but it only shows 500. And it's like, man, this kind of sucks. People can't see how well connected I am, right? So one thing that LinkedIn has been rolling out across its entire user base for a few months now is the ability to publish very much like your own blog and articles on your LinkedIn profile. Depending on when this episode comes out, it might be available for everyone or it might not. But the easiest way to check is just go to the homepage of LinkedIn, click in the share box, and if you see a little pencil along with the little like attachment icon, click on the pencil, and that means that you can publish blog articles on LinkedIn. And once you start doing that, when people visit your profile, they'll see that you have a certain number of followers rather than connections, and it looks a lot more interesting, and it's better branding, in my opinion.
Okay, and this is different from just sharing a link. This is like actually writing a full post on LinkedIn. I just published the first one just before this call, and I can see.
Oh, awesome! Looks great.
So it says 500 plus connections, and it says post published by Nick, and it says 1,100 followers.
Yeah, from myself viewing your profile, you can actually, LinkedIn is starting to show you now what your profile looks to other people. It actually says that you have 1,146 followers, and it doesn't even say the number of connections you have, which I think is awesome.
Is there any reason to not accept an invite from someone? Because you get random people adding you all the time, and you're like, what's in it for you? I don't understand. Like, what's their game plan? What's their master plan in doing that?
This is a great question. When I discovered a lot of these different strategies that I'm sharing, the main one, which we haven't really talked about yet, but we'll get into for sure, I started getting a lot of connection requests. It started off kind of slow, 25 a week, and then it ramped up to 50, then 100, then 250, and then I started getting around 2,000 connection requests a month, which is a lot. I mean, that's more connections than 99% probably of LinkedIn users will have.
That's double what I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's more than most people will have the entire lifetime of their account, which is not to say anything bad about anyone else. I mean, anyone can use these strategies that I'm going to share, but that's a lot of connection requests, 2,000 a month. So if you accept all of those, like I do, with a few exceptions, you do get some interesting characters. And I don't know, for me, it's not really a big deal. Maybe that's because I've spent a lot of time in Hollywood and I'm kind of used to interesting characters. I don't know if anyone listening has ever been to like the touristy part of Hollywood, but you get very interesting characters down there. So You just deal with those however you can. I mean, I've had people contact me through Messenger, multiple times a day, trying to get me on the phone, like, thinking we're best friends when they don't even know me. But that's extremely rare. I mean, that's probably less than 1/10 of 1% of the people you connect with. And the benefit of getting a lot of connections like that, apart from just LinkedIn saying that you have thousands and thousands of followers, is that you can bring those people in through your marketing funnel, depending on what it is that your goal is. So, like I talked about earlier, if you have a digital product to sell, you obviously want to have a lot of inbound traffic from a renewable source. And there are a lot of ways you can do that. You can host a webinar, you can do a guest blog post, but LinkedIn actually allows you to have a renewable source of people where you can have thousands of people coming your way, well, hundreds to thousands, depending on how much time you're willing to put into it every month. And you can bring those people on through, and a certain number of them will become your customers. Or, if you want to grow your email list, this has been a great way for me personally to grow my email list by thousands of people. And I've never done a guest blog post. I've just focused on this. And it's been an amazing source. And also, the interesting thing about it is if you go in there when someone connects with you and you just have a really fast exchange, saying, hey, great to be connected to you, and then sending them a message about your email list or asking them something about themselves, you get higher open rates. So, it's pretty normal for people who connect to my email list through LinkedIn for like 50 to 60% of those people to open the email newsletter, which is pretty high.
Yeah, that's really high.
Yeah.
So how are you funneling people from LinkedIn to, because this is off-site, right? Because we've talked about, I've seen the video of like, here's how you export your LinkedIn contacts, and then you can bulk spam everyone. Like, ooh, I don't think that's what they signed up for.
Yeah, that I've never done that before.
Good.
So it used to be that, proponents and people who loved using LinkedIn for business, their whole goal was to build up a LinkedIn group as quickly as possible around some sort of topic. So if you're selling a product about social media, you start a social media group, right? And then you get 10,000 people to join, and then you export all of those email contacts and spam everybody, right? But here's the thing is that doesn't work anymore, mostly because LinkedIn removed that feature. So you can't even do that anymore. What I do is I will connect with someone and literally have a very fast, like 5-second messaging back and forth conversation with them and ask them something first. So you want to ask them a question related to some sort of action that you want them to take. So if you connect with someone and you want them to sign up for an email list, you ask them a question about something related to your email list or something about themselves, and then they will always answer you back and ask you the same exact question that you asked them. That's just how people are, right? That's human nature.
Okay.
You want to have things in common. And then you can use that to answer them with our already prepared text, and you just copy in their name, just like you would if you were emailing somebody through MailChimp and you wanted to have their name in it. And you say, here's what I'm doing. Click on this link to sign up for my email list. I think it would make sense for you, or whatever. And then you're done. And that person is a connection, and a lot of those people will convert to whatever it is you're looking for them to do, whether it's, checking out a product, downloading an ebook, signing up for your email list. And, this, I guess probably maybe to some people, this sounds like a huge amount of work. If you're getting thousands of connections.
That's what I was just going to say. If you're getting 2,000 requests a month, and you got to send everybody a personal note and have oh my gosh.
Yeah. So for me, handling that amount of traffic really just takes between, 2 to 3 hours a week, really. Kind of spread. You can batch it all at once on, a Saturday morning, or you can spread it out, and it's not really painful because it's not a huge amount of time. Okay. It just has to do with figuring out what your messaging is, which you probably already have if you have some sort of lead magnet and a marketing funnel, and just plugging it in and copying and pasting, making sure to insert the person's name and try to make it as personable as you can. But you don't have to spend a huge amount of time on it.
So I could be like, hey, hey, Bob, thanks for connecting. Are you, God, it sounds so salesy though. Like, are you happy with your day job? Like, would you like to learn? Oh God, I got to work on that.
Well, why don't I give you a real world example, something I used. So I have a weekly newsletter that goes out called the Native Champion Newsletter. It's just, an inspirational newsletter reminding people that they're already born champions. Like, I'm a native Angelino, but we're all native champions, right?
Okay.
So what I would ask people is I would say, hey, great to connect. I have one question that I ask everyone I connect with. I think it's a lot more interesting than the standard "what do you do?" question, which is kind of funny. And I would ask them what their dream is. And that's it. I'd send it out. That takes a split second. You're just copying and pasting. And I would get a lot of responses. Probably, I would say somewhere between 80 to 95% of people respond eventually, and a lot of them respond within that day. And dude, you would be so shocked at some of the responses. Like, some people say things like, I can't believe I'm sharing something this personal with a complete stranger. But they always come back with, whatever that dream was that they have. And then after that, they would ask me about what my dream was. And I would tell them that, one of the things I'm doing is I'm trying to inspire people through this newsletter. I'll be starting a podcast soon, all that stuff. And then, you don't have to be really salesy about it. I mean, I personally hate being salesy. So I would just say, if you want to check this out, here's the link. If not, no worries. It was great to talk to you. And that's it. And that converts a huge number of people.
Gosh, that's so good. That's so good. That's so much better than mine.
Don't worry. I mean, you'll figure out whatever works for you, but you just want to tailor it to whatever it is. Again, like I talked about, that one action that you want people to take when they visit your profile and connect with you.
Okay, very cool. On the articles that you have the ability to publish, do I need to be creating unique content for LinkedIn in addition to my blog, or can I repurpose it there? What's been your experience with that stuff?
So when I create articles on LinkedIn, I'll typically also publish them on Medium. I would publish them on a personal blog. So you can repurpose it. It doesn't have to be specifically for that audience. If you want, you can. I mean, if you go into LinkedIn and you check out some of the most popular articles, which we can talk about how to do, you can see which articles perform best. Typically it has to do with, numbered lists always do really well, just like they do all over the internet. But, job search stuff, business, investing, social media, things like that. So if you want, you can, repurpose all of your content, or you can have some that's repurposed, some that's original. It just really depends on how much time you have and how much you're willing to put in to get that much out.
Should I publish like every blog post I write? Should I also publish it on LinkedIn?
I don't think there's any downside at all to repurposing your blog posts to LinkedIn, especially if they're consistent with your brand and that one action that you want people to take. So what I tell people, some people have more than one blog. It's actually like really common, I think, for people to have like a personal blog and then a business blog. What you want on your profile is you want everything to be based around what you want people to do, and you don't want to distract them from that. So you don't want to post, if you want people to buy a digital product and it has to do with starting a business and raising venture capital, you don't want to post one of your personal blogs that you would normally put on Medium or Tumblr that talks about your dog and how you found this great dog groomer in your area or something like that.
Okay.
Generally speaking, I mean, you can do that. The upside of doing that is that it humanizes you further. But instead of publishing that as a post on there, I would just recommend sharing that on the homepage. And then all of your followers can see it and they can feel connected with you in that way without disconnecting them from your brand.
Okay, because you can still link to that stuff, but it's not as visible as a post on your page.
Right. I mean, what you want to do when you publish an article, a blog on LinkedIn, is you want to then share that URL link on the homepage, and then I would recommend also sharing it on Facebook and Twitter and whatever other social media you're on. Ello, I guess now is the new thing. So
maybe that's the next big thing.
Who knows?
One mistake that I apparently was making, and I didn't really even realize this until a couple of weeks ago, is your privacy settings. And so I must have gone through at some point and checked the box for like don't show anyone my profile.
Right.
And then realizing, well, that's kind of backwards. I want everyone to see, this, because you cast a wide net and potentially some people are interested in Side Hustle Nation. And so going through and changing your privacy settings, if you want them to be not private, to make sure that everyone can see who you are and what you do.
Yeah, probably you just did that because you wanted to appear mysterious, right?
I guess. I don't know. I thought I had fixed it a long time ago, and then I was looking at it in an incognito thing, and it didn't even show anything. I was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong?
Yeah. So I think one of the big reasons why people have tended to gravitate away from LinkedIn and spend more time on Facebook or Twitter or stuff like that is that the user interface and the back end of LinkedIn, your account is definitely historically been a lot more complicated than Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or something like that are, especially, Instagram, it's like very minimalist, right?
Right.
LinkedIn has actually fixed the exact problem that you had roughly a week and a half ago. So now when you log in to your LinkedIn account, you're automatically in edit mode. And where you normally would click on edit your profile, it says view as. And if you click that, it will show you what the general public sees when they click on your profile and also what a connection sees. So that would have solved your problem, obviously, because you can do it a lot more easily. But they've made it so much easier for everyone else now.
No, that's a good deal. It's a good deal. Let's get into some of the Pulse stuff. So it used to be all about Facebook or LinkedIn groups.
Yep.
And now it's all about LinkedIn Pulse. So what's Pulse?
Right. So it's kind of funny. Like Pulse, that sounds like nothing you would really be interested in, right? It doesn't even really make sense as a title for it. But what you really want to think about is that LinkedIn has gone through a lot of trouble, and I'm sure they've spent a ton of money on this, but they've created an entire program, like an ecosystem essentially inside the platform with hundreds of the most influential people in the world. And I'm being serious about that. That's not like, an overstatement. People like Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Ariana Huffington, President Obama, Pete Cashmore, the founder of Mashable, if you're into that sort of thing, and literally hundreds of others, Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, they all have LinkedIn profiles, and they are what is called influencers on there because, I guess they're super influential, and they're influencers on LinkedIn. They have a LinkedIn badge, and they go on there and they post articles, and Pulse is essentially the whole back-end system that aggregates all of those articles together, as well as all of the articles, those blog posts that people like myself and you and whoever else publishes together all into one news cycle, Does that make sense?
Right. And it's like, it doesn't have to be those big name people. It could be whoever the big name people are in your industry, in your niche.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all in there. And, if you look at one of your articles, like the one you've posted, and you scroll down past it, LinkedIn is going to show you another related article. And, depending on what you're writing about and their algorithm, it might show you a Richard Branson article. So it's very commingled together. And that's essentially what Pulse is it's the entire system, and the influencer program is inside of Pulse. Yeah.
So your strategy to, like, what are you supposed to do with that, with this information or with this platform?
Yeah, it sounds cool, great, but the question is, how do you take advantage of that? How do you leverage it? What do you do to get anything out of that? Because just on its face, it just looks like any other news site with important contributors.
Right.
But what you can actually do, this is what I would think about is, think about how game-changing it would be for your business or for you as somebody who's looking for a job or your brand in general if you could position yourself alongside influential people like Richard Branson, like Ariana Huffington, and on down the list. And if you didn't have to spend any advertising at all to do that, if it was totally free. And that's basically, that is exactly what you can do with LinkedIn Pulse, because all of these influencers go on there and they post these articles, and then you have the opportunity to comment and interact with them. So when Richard Branson posts an article on LinkedIn, you can go in there, comment on it, and if you get to that article soon enough and you contribute real value to the conversation, you get likes and you get upvoted. And once you get to a certain point, there's, once you get a certain number of upvotes on your comment, it just becomes exponential growth. And you can get, literally hundreds, thousands of likes on your comment, and it's there forever. And so when someone clicks on Richard Branson's profile, who I believe has about 5 million followers, they'll read the article and they'll scroll down, and at the end of the article is your face and your profile
That's
link.
your comment. Yeah.
And your comment. And that's there forever. I mean, that's huge brand positioning. I don't even want to know how much it would cost to buy an advertisement, on Richard Branson's personal blog. I don't even think he sells that kind of thing, but that's effectively what you're doing. And like I said, if you add value to the conversation, then people will associate you with someone like that, and they'll want to connect with you. And it's amazing exposure, and it's evergreen. It's there forever.
Yeah, like I was joking about in the intro. So I'm on JJ's profile page on the people also viewed section, right? Richard Branson, Bill Gates, James Altucher, Barack Obama. This is pretty serious stuff. And so
it's really funny.
It's by by association. Like you're the guy. You mean you must be the guy, right? And so the idea is to go into the Pulse News to select who you're going to follow, right? So you see their posts. Who are the influencers in your niche? Like, for me, I don't know if, having Barack Obama on the side, it would be cool, but I don't know if it would be, really drive that much business or whatever. But, follow who you're following in your niche. And then, do you set, a particular time of day or, time of week to go in there and see what posts are comment worthy that you can add to?
Right. Great question. So this is kind of difficult to explain in just audio, but I'll do my best. If you go to LinkedIn and you scroll over the interests tab on the top and click on Pulse, then you can look at the top articles and you can sort them by most popular of all time, which of course is a great way for you to find out what topics work. And you can also see like how many views these get, which is, sometimes in the millions with tens of thousands of comments. It's absolutely crazy. It's a very, very active ecosystem.
Okay.
And then you can also sort it by most popular this week, most popular today. Now, none of those are going to help you because if you find the most popular article of the day, it's already got a ton of comments. And if you try to comment on it, you're just going to get buried. So what you want to do is you want to look at articles as they come in real time. So you click on most recent articles and it will populate. And you want to check, like in the morning, usually Monday through Wednesday is a good time. If you're like me and you get up and the first thing you do is jump on email because, there might be something important there, and then you go for your run or whatever, just check LinkedIn Pulse, make it part of your daily habit. It takes a couple minutes. And if you actually see an article there from an influencer, which happens, it's happened to me dozens and dozens of times. You go in there, take a couple more minutes, read it. Usually they're pretty short. And if you feel like it's something you can add real value to the conversation, comment. And you've got a good chance, if there aren't a lot of comments on there, of getting voted the most popular comment. And you get a ton of traffic that way, a ton of exposure. And like you said, if you go to my, if your listeners want to kind of check out my profile to see like what happens when you do this properly, it's linkedin.com/in/Joshua Jordison. If you scroll down on my profile and look at the right side, it says people also viewed, and then it shows the profiles of Richard Branson, Pete Cashmore, Bill Gates, Ariana, James Altucher, Barack Obama. And obviously, like, I'm not delusional thinking that I am the equal of Richard Branson and Barack Obama. Certainly not. But it's great branding association, right? So that's why you want to do it. That's one of the side benefits. And it, like you said, it looks super impressive, just like having a high follower count looks.
Right. So just a quick note on the navigation. So I'm under interests, and then the drop down is Pulse. And then under Pulse, I'm navigating to the top posts. And then on the right-hand side, they may change the interface, but on the right-hand side, I have a drop down for top posts today, and then I can hit recent posts.
Yes.
And that's going to say, and using the formula of what is likely to be popular, those list posts by somebody influential. Hey, it was just published, 10 minutes ago. There's only 3 comments so far. I'm going to jump on there and, give my 2 cents. Right. And collect some exposure that way.
Yeah. In the beginning, when you start doing this, you have to familiarize yourself with who these people are. And the more you do it, the more it becomes just second nature, and you can just glance at an article and go, okay, great, that's a perfect one. I'm going to jump in, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to comment, and I'm going to watch, the traffic come to my profile. And I'll do this. I'll give your listeners like a kind of a secret tip that I actually wasn't going to say, except for people who bought the course that I'm putting out, but I'll do it for your listeners and for you. What you want to do is you want to get inside the head of the person reading your comment and give them permission to connect with you. So this is something I discovered by accident. I started doing these comments and I started getting, like I said, 25, 50 connection requests a week, whatever, kind of small potatoes. But as soon as I added a friendly call to action to the end of the comment, it quadrupled, quintupled, and that's when I hit, thousands of connection requests a month. And, you can come up with your own thing or you can copy mine. I really don't care. It's fine. But I just put an asterisk symbol there, a little star, and I say, hey, if you're reading this and you're about to click like, we probably have a lot of things in common. Let's connect here on LinkedIn. And that's it. That's all I say. And it's amazing how just, putting it out there that you're a friendly person and you want to connect with people will massively, like exponentially increase the number of people that decide to do that, because you're getting in their head, you're thinking the thought they're thinking before they even think it.
Yeah. Assumes the close on the like button clicking too.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. JJ, thank you so much for joining me and sharing all this stuff. This really, really eye-opening, huge opportunity on LinkedIn, and at least in my case, was very much overlooked up until we connected. So
sure.
If people want to learn more about this stuff, I know you mentioned the course, but where should they go to find out more?
They can go to thelinkedinstitute.com, and I've actually put together a private free guide for Side Hustle Nation listeners called Hacking LinkedIn for Side Hustlers.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and they can get that at thelinkedinstitute.com/Nick. So that'll be on there for them.
Very cool. Thank you so much for putting that together. That's really cool. And and if you follow that link, thelinkedinstitute.com/Nick, you're going to be automatically notified of JJ's upcoming webinar where you can learn even more about this stuff, about hacking your LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
And we'll wrap things up with your number one tip for Side Hustle Nation.
I would say this is something that applies directly to people who want to use LinkedIn, and just even if you never go on LinkedIn and you just are like, look, man, this is all great stuff, but I like Instagram, leave me alone. If you're going to reach out to somebody influential, if you're trying to do business, all business is done through people. Before you reach out to someone influential and ask them for anything, give them value first, always. And the more influential they are, the more value you need to give before you ask for anything in return. And just having that mindset and not expecting anything in return and just giving a lot of value is something that really changed the game for me a few years ago. And I think if people try that, they'll, be happier regardless of what results they get from doing it.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, you definitely delivered a lot of value here today, so we applaud you for that. And
Thanks.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome, man. Great to talk to you.
This edition of the Side Hustle Show is brought to you by KindleLaunchCourse.com, which is my step-by-step guide to writing a book that's going to be genuinely helpful to people and then taking it to the top of the Amazon charts, where you can sit back and enjoy your newfound status as an Amazon bestseller, as well as set yourself up to earn some author royalty income down the road. I've got a special discounted offer for podcast listeners through that URL at KindleLaunchCourse.com. I'll see you on the inside. All my notes and highlights from this episode with JJ are available in a free downloadable PDF for you at sidehustlenation.com/86. I think I trip up on that word like every week. Or through the episode description of your podcast player app. And you can grab JJ's giveaway, Hacking LinkedIn for Side Hustlers, at thelinkedinstitute.com/Nick. Tons of actionable stuff in this episode, and I definitely have to test out the waters and publish more of my relevant content on LinkedIn to see what happens, see if it can drive some traffic and engagement on a social network that's been pretty overlooked by yours truly. So big shout out to Jonathan, who was the first to correctly name the band at the end of last week's episode. It was indeed Great Big Sea, in his words, the best unknown band in the world. I like their stuff, so check them out if you're not familiar with them. A good Canadian band there. And before I go, a huge heartfelt thank you for all the new iTunes reviews that kind of flooded in this past month or so to get me to 100 by the end of the year in the U.S. store. I'm talking to you, Walls CEO, Michael Laron, CAM, V. Nix, Steve Scott, Nancy Hendrickson, Lisa, Sally, and Michael Alder. Thank you guys so much. Doing the show is seriously the highlight of my week, and hearing how it's inspiring people to take action on their side hustles, on their businesses, is so rewarding. Just means the world to me. So next year, I want you to be on the show so we can share your side hustle success story with the nation. So enjoy the rest of the holidays. Let me know about your annual review, and stay tuned next week because I've got an awesome show for you, really laying out the step-by-step framework to quit your job in the next 12 months. It's really powerful stuff. Until then, let's go out there and make something happen, and I'll see you in 2015 for episode 87 and beyond. Hustle on.
Thanks for listening to The Side Hustle Show at www.sidehustlenation.com.